Star Wars Outlaws is officially out now, and the question is, does it really deserve all the hate that it's been getting? If you take a look at reviews online, you'll see that it's really difficult to find any positive reviews on this game. Now, I was actually really interested in this game when they released the first trailer, but seeing the reviews online really made me hesitant on buying it. So I decided to go with the cheaper option and get a Ubisoft Plus subscription that allows me to play the game for 1 month. But I gotta say, this game is a lot more impressive than it really seems. Even though I only played the game for a couple of hours, the game's story was actually really interesting. Now, I know I'm probably going to get a lot of comments disagreeing with me, and that's okay, that's your opinion, but I really don't think this game is deserving of the hate that it's getting. Most of the hate actually seems to be coming from people that haven't played the game and have only seen gameplay online. I mean, people were already hating on the game before the early access dropped. Now, even though it's not as bad of a game as most people say, it's still not the greatest game ever. Even though I enjoyed playing the game so far, there's definitely been a few flaws. But you do have to give Ubisoft credit for releasing the first ever Star Wars open world game. I mean, there was Knights of the Old Republic, but this is the first open world Star Wars game that's up to today's standards. Now, I think what made this game very unappealing to a lot of people is that you couldn't create your own character and you could only wield a blaster. I mean, who wants to play a Star Wars game where you can't use a lightsaber? And in some spots of the game, it's really lacking in terms of freedom. The only vehicle you can ride on land is a speeder, and you can't even steal anyone else's speeder. Same goes for space gameplay, you can only ride in one ship. And the customization also seems to be somewhat lacking, since you can only really change your top, belt, and pants. Aside from those kind of annoying things, the game's actually pretty solid. Every planet's main hub is filled with people and is actually really immersive. I'm usually not the type of person to stop and stare at stuff in games, but this game actually had me looking around for quite some time. In most scenes, the graphics are actually really stunning, but sometimes they're kind of lacking. It may or may not just be my PC, but it could also be Ubisoft just rushing some of the scenes. The combat gameplay is pretty fun, but it does get kind of repetitive at times. The same goes for traveling around the map with a speeder, which does get kind of boring sometimes. However, movement on foot is actually really fluid. Unlike in some games where it's kind of a chore to walk around, taking a stroll in this game is actually really enjoyable. You can actually sit down in the city and play a full game of Sabacc, which I'm still trying to figure out the rules for. The stealth gameplay isn't that great. Your partner in crime, also known as Nyx, which is some sort of fluffy animal that I don't know the name for, can be used to distract enemies so you can sneak past them. But this is kind of 50-50 because sometimes it just really doesn't work that well. Sometimes it works when it really shouldn't. I mean, when you're standing right in front of the AI, sometimes it's completely oblivious to you. The takedowns don't really make a whole lot of sense sometimes because Kay literally punches stormtroopers' helmets, knocking them out. I mean, that's gotta hurt, right? But even though there are parts of this game that don't really make sense or are kind of glitchy, that doesn't really take away from how much fun it is. You can pretty much go wherever you want, do whatever you want, whenever you want, and that's pretty cool because we've never seen that in a Star Wars game before. I mean, I guess you can't really do whatever you want since, like I said before, the game's a little bit lacking in freedom. But it's still a great step in the right direction for the future of open world Star Wars games. I mean, just imagine how much fun it would be if you could create your own character, wield a lightsaber, a blaster, whatever, and go to almost every planet in the Star Wars universe. The only thing is, that would probably take a lot of time because the world of Star Wars is huge. So I'm glad we got something like Star Wars Outlaws in the meantime, even if it's not exactly what we all hoped for. If you're thinking about getting the game, I would definitely say go for it. However, I honestly don't think it's worth the $70. I would honestly say it's worth more like $40 just because of the game's content. It's got a decent story and pretty solid gameplay. It's just not that special though. But remember, just because it isn't exactly a state-of-the-art game doesn't mean that it's not fun. And I think many people forgot the point of video games, and that's to have fun. It doesn't necessarily matter if the graphics are good, if the gameplay is good. I mean, I guess it kind of has to be for it to be fun, but what matters is that the game is fun. And I genuinely think Star Wars Outlaws is a game that is fun. If I had to rate it, I would definitely give it a 7.5 out of 10 because while it is pretty decent, it does have some things that could be better. But to pretty much cap it all off, I think this game is very much overhated. It's definitely pretty far off from being a Star Wars Red Dead Redemption, but hey, it's not a bad game.